Hello, Grid Investor Network. I am Danielle Palloschi-Browne, an agent and an investor, and this is my partner, Raj Tamang, a custom home builder and engineer, and we are here today to continue our structural series and discuss. Today we're going through code requirements for notching and cutting wall studs and floor joists. So we're kind of piggybacking off of what we did last week and continuing on specifics. So you can't just cut wall joists and floor joists if it's convenient. Otherwise, you could really damage the integrity of the structure. So Raj, why don't you start with going through what you can do and what's really not very safe to do?
Yeah. So this is one of the questions I get all the time as an engineer. Say, hey, I have a floor joist, I have a wall stud, I need to notch. You have to always, because you have sometimes running the cables or wires or plumbing lines. You sometimes have to. So, even though it's not preferable structurally, but you have to, right? But there is a way to do it, and there's certain requirement code, which is, like I said before, IRC, International Residential Code, is the one we use for designing a residential construction single family homes, right? Per code, it will tell you how much of the studs or joists you can cut or not. Okay, those are the things you have to understand, and always I explain to them all the time. Okay, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. If you cannot, let's say you have a stud and you cannot, how much you cannot, right? You need to know, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to quickly share my screen. I thought I already did. Okay, I'm good. So do you see my slide?
Yep, you're good.
And I'm gonna also go back to the link, okay? And this is a Simpson.
Yeah, so it's quite common to see electrical, plumbing, sewer lines all run through studs, right?
Yeah. So you see my slide, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this is what my slide is upon the running without me touching it. So I'm gonna go back to home if I can. Okay. So this is a few slides I put together, and I also have a link I'll share with you. So based on IRC, International Residential Code, it will tell you how much, what you can do, what you can't do. So let's say this is your floor joist, right? So this is a floor joist. When you say you're talking about a regular 2x10 or 2x12 floor joist, it's a solid lumber floor joist, okay? You are not talking about floor trusses or pre-engineered product, which is I-joist. I'll talk about that later. But this is just purely if you're using 2x lumber, right? 2x10, 2x8, 2x12. Usually those are the lumber you use as a joist, floor joist. And usually the spacing goes 16 inches on center or 24 inches on center. Sometimes it depends where you apply. So if you have that case, floor joist, and by code IRC, it will tell you where and how much you can notch. So this is a floor joist. And let's say this is a joist spanning from one wall, bearing wall to another bearing wall, right? Okay, this is a wall. This is a wall, and floor joist is spanning. And let's say the span of the joist is L from here to here. So L/3 from the end, you cannot. Those areas you cannot. You can, okay? So L/3 distance. So if it is 9 foot long, so 3 foot from each end, you cannot. But the midsection 3 feet, you cannot at all.
Got it. Because it's too close to where the pressure is. Yep.
The reason you cannot notch, this is more technical, because when you have a floor joist like this, supported at both ends, when you apply the load, we say when people are sitting on the top, you have a live load and dead load, the joist will try to deflect like this, right?
Yep.
So that's called a bending. and you have a bending moment or bending stress highest at the midsection. So that's why whatever the bending stress maximum, those section of the joist you can't touch.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, because it doesn't have as much strength as the parts that are closer to the ends of the wall.
Yeah, the midsection is the one taking the most of the load in bending. So that area is structurally more critical for the joist. So that section you cannot make a hole. So if you have any plumbing lines, electrical lines, you have to run through that section. You have to completely avoid it. Now, one part from each end, you can notch. So I'm notching on the top part of the joist. On the right side, I'm notching on the bottom. So you can notch, and D by 3 means D means depth, it's a D. So let's say you are using 2x12, the actual depth of the joist is 11.25, right? 2x12.
Yeah.
So 11.25 inch is the depth. So here up to D by 6, you can notch. The maximum you can do there is, so 11.25 divided by 6, whatever that number is, that can you notch. You cannot notch more than that.
Got it. So like just a little bit less than what, 2 inches? Is it then measured by inches on how much you can notch, or?
Yeah, so let me get my calculator. And now let's be precise.
It's like 11 and a half roughly divided by 6 is almost 2.
Yeah, 1.875, so almost 2, exactly. Yeah. So almost 2 you can do. So 1.875 inch is the deeper you can go. But wide you can do D by 3, which is times 2, so 3.75. So it looks like you can notch up to 3.75 wide, but depth has to be 1.875 if it's 2x12. So you can notch either on the top or the bottom, okay?
Not both.
But now if you ask me no, I have to make, let's say instead of 1.875, I have to do 2 inch or 3 inch knot. What do I do? Yeah, there's a way to do it, but yeah, by code you can't. But someone like me as a structural engineer, I have to design a reinforcing, try to reinforce or try to sister that joist, and that's fine. So I'm talking about notching the joist, doing nothing. You notch it, but you don't have to reinforce. That still gives the same structural integrity of the original section.
Got it. Okay.
Now, sometimes you can notch. So if you look at the second photo, you can notch right at the section, right at the support. So you can notch up to D by 4 on the top or bottom. Okay, sometimes you can notch the joist for the bearing purpose. So it looks like D by 4, 11.25 by 4. So it looks like you can also almost notch like 2.5 inch or almost 3 inch notch it. And that's okay. Okay, makes sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
So go to the second one now, floor joist. This is also the floor joist, but this is the rafters. Rafters means that roof. On the roof, you can use a 2x10 or 2x12, 2x lumber for the roof rafters instead of floor joist, and the requirements slightly different. So rafter ceiling requirements is maximum from here D only. So D by 3 maximum. So you can still notch here on the top, right? But here for the rafter and ceiling joist, you can only notch D from the, which is means like 12 inch maximum, almost 11.25 inch only here. So that's why you have to be careful. Oh, I have a joist I'm using for the floor joist, or I'm using the same joist for the roof rafters. The requirements are different, okay? So now, so this is for the notching, but if you want to make a hole, you can also make a hole like this. So when you make a hole, you have to remember, you have to go back. So location, either you notch or make a hole. This mid section, mid 1/3 section, you cannot touch it. You cannot notch, you cannot make a hole, okay? So this applies, but So you can make a hole like this, D/3, and you have to make sure that there's a 2 inch from the top, or 2 inch is this lower part or upper part has to be there at least 2 inch.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter 2x8 or 2x6 or 2x4. You have to have a minimum of 2 inch from the top of the joist or bottom of the joist easily. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
So, but you can make a D/3. Means if you D/3, right? 11.25 divided by 3 looks like you can make a hole up to 3.75 diameter. So if you're notching 2 inch hole for a plumbing pipe, you're good, as long as you are in that section of one third from 18.
Got it.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. Now, next one, this is like wall. Now, floor joist will cover lumber, but this is for the wall. But then for the wall, you have to think about joist is already, almost, I would say almost all it's bearing because the floor, supporting the floor. But the wall starts, it could be bearing walls, exterior walls, or interior non-load bearing walls, right? Non-load bearing wall, just a partition wall, like try to create a space between, rooms between the biggest space or among the biggest space. So, but if it is bearing walls and exterior walls, the requirements are different. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say this is your wall. This is a plate, top plate, always double plate. The top plate is always double plate, and the bottom plate is single plate. That's how they are. Okay, this is why we're installed. There is a reason, but I don't want to get into that. Maybe that's a different topic. Why you have double plate on the top, you only have a single plate in the bottom. There's a reason, a structural reason. But again, for now, let's think.
When you say double plate, exactly what do you mean? Do you mean like two by fours or something twisted together, or?
Yeah, two of them sitting on the top of it. Always when you have a wall, especially exterior wall and bearing wall, you have a double plate like this.
Yep.
And you start walls every 16 inches on center or 24 inches on center if it's non-load bearing wall. But at the bottom also, you have to have a continuous plate which is sitting on the plywood soft floor. That's just the one plate.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a stud, top plate and bottom plate. So here, this will tell you exactly. I don't know if it's clear. So it says board hole maximum diameter is 40% of the stud depth. It's a little bit, so 40% of the stud depth. So if you have 2x6, so 2x6 is 5.5. 40% of that is 0.4. Maximum diameter is 40% of the studs. So which is a 2.2 inch. So you can make, if you have 2x6 wall, you can make up to 2-inch hole, diameter hole. But when you make
that's 40%. So like if you had a wall this wide, you could basically make a hole that's about that wide.
Yeah, if it is a 2x6, which is 5.5 inch wide, then you can make a hole up to 2.2 inch. So if you're making 2-inch holes, but make sure to try to make that hole right on the center of the stud, okay? Because here you cannot notch it or drill on the edge, because if you notch, it's a little bit different, okay? So notching requirements different. If you drill it, you don't have to do exactly in the center, but don't come too close to the edge. So it tells you, I think this is a 5 by 8 inch minimum to the edge. You have to leave that little bit of meat, solid meat, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to notch 25% of the stud depth, you have to notch like this. If you want to notch and do, so these are all the requirements here in the code. So I don't want to get into do depth, but again, if you talk to a structural engineer, they would be able to refer to you to the correct code. There's a section in IRC that will tell you all of this. I just copied a screenshot. But like I say, if you have any specific question, I'd be happy to answer to you guys later on. But keep in mind, you cannot just go ahead and notch the studs, whether it's a load-bearing wall or non-load-bearing, you can. So this is the criteria for load-bearing walls and exterior walls, and this is the criteria for non-load-bearing walls. So it's a little bit different. So you can do a little bit differently for non-load-bearing walls. So, board holes, 60%, see? So you can make a hole bigger, literally bigger holes. Because it's a non-load bearing wall because it's not supporting anything.
Yep.
Right? It's just a partition wall. So this is the wall is the notching and boring or cutting requirements. Again, this is from IRC.
Yeah, and that's really just to get like things that are of, and it kind of, now it's actually all clicking for me why certain pipes and why certain size wires are the size that they are. It's to not compromise the integrity of the studs that are holding things up and the structure overall. So like when you see like 2-inch pipes for plumbing or sewer or whatever it is you're using, and I'm obviously just making that up off the top of my head, it's because you don't want to go too wide or compromise those studs. So this is actually making a lot of sense to me now.
Yeah.
And okay, continue.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's good. So you can also notch the top plate, right? I say double top plate. So there's a top plate, double top plate. If you notch like this because of this pipe, and then you can strap it so that it doesn't come out. Usually they don't make a hole on, you can make a hole, but usually it's easy to just cut it out like this. So when you cut it, you have to make sure between the studs. And so you cut it, then you have to put a strap outside. So you strap and nail it so it doesn't come out. And also give you continuity. You know what I'm saying? You're putting a bunch of nails. Now it's here, there's a requirement, 16 gauge. So minimum 16 gauge. So there's a 20 gauge, 22 gauge. That's too thin. 18 gauge too thin. It's a minimum 16 gauge. But if you do 18 gauge, if you do 14 gauge, 12 gauge, 10 gauge, that's good. The gauge is that less number it is, the thicker it is, you know? So the 10 gauge is thicker than 20 gauge. Thickness wise.
Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, because it's wider. Like I'm trying to think of what I'm comparing it to in my head, like where that's the case as well. So like, this is gonna sound like a strange comparison, but like when people get their ears stretched or piercings, the gauges that they call them, 0 is like big. Like that's a really big gauge. The smaller ones are like 16, 20, 24. Like they're like smaller size. So that's probably a dumb analogy, but I get what you're saying. So the lower the number, the bigger the gauge.
Okay, Raj? Now we're back. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I
so the lower the number, the bigger the gauge.
Yep. Lower the number, thicker the material. When you say gauge, it's more like a plate. So you say if you say this is a plate 10 gauge versus 20 gauge, so 10 gauge is thicker than 20 gauge.
Yep.
Okay. So that's the requirement you have to follow. So now this is the deal. So sometimes you say, what if I have to make actually bigger than that? So there are some of the proprietary product like Simpson, UPS, USP. They're Hilti, USP, Simpson. They have some proprietary product. You can buy it. So whatever you notch it, you can reinforce that section. Okay. So all these requirements I'm talking about notching without doing nothing. But now if you have to notch it bigger, so you have to do like, for example, this is a Simpson product. So you can use like this. So you have seen it many times, especially this plate, whatever electrical wiring is running through. And this is not really doing to reinforce the stud. The purpose of this plate is after drywall is installed, somebody is putting a nail through, make sure it doesn't go through the stud and into the wire.
Go through your gas line or go through your water line.
Correct, yeah. So this plate is very important. So when you're doing new construction, you make sure that whatever is notched or drilled hole, I make sure to put this plate. This is not expensive. You can buy like on bunch plate, and whatever you drill it, same reason, especially electrical wiring, you want to take it seriously, right? So make sure that even if you don't have to do it by code, but you do it for electrical protection. To be honest with you, I think the county will require you to do it wherever you're running electrical pipes. Water pipes, I don't think they care, but for safety, we have to do it. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you think about gas lines? Do they require it for that?
I would do it too, So the good thing is that, you
Yeah.
probably you're gonna use a nails or a screw. So if you have a solid plate like this, and when you screw and you feel like you're hitting some solid material, you stop, right? Um, One time, I don't know if I tell you, in my office, apparently I drilled through the plate um, into the water pipe, and my office was flooded for 3 hours. So that's the story of life. That was maybe like three,
So
4 years
you
ago.
wish one of these was installed in your office.
Yes. No, it was actually installed, but I was like, I was doing a weekend. I was excited. New office. We were doing all decoration, putting the picture frames, and I'm in the top
Yeah.
floor. And to be honest, I'm in the top floor. I didn't expect the water pipes running through the wall, going to the freaking roof. I'm like, why is it gonna go to the roof
Sure.
anyway? So I was like, it was a little
Oh
bit hard,
man.
but I drilled through anyway. Then the minute it drilled through, water started coming in. Weekend, we could not, I could not shut off the valve. Whole
No.
3-story building was flooded. So yeah, it is what. Yeah,
Hey, it happens. But
it happens.
that's why these are important, and you should make sure you install them.
Correct, correct. And see, look at these ones. See, these look different, right? They are bigger plate. You can see it. You're actually making bigger plate holes than you are supposed to by code. So if you do it, then you have some product. Simpson has some product. It's called a SU. Stud SU. You can buy it and do it. Okay. And I'm going to go
Nice.
through this one later on. But these are some of the proprietary product you can buy that helps to reinforce that section where you drill through. But that way you can make actually bigger hole than required by code or required, by approved by code. So this is called as you can buy. These are the structural shoe. So
Wow.
yeah, so you can buy from Simpson, Home Depot, any place. So you see the big pipe here. The holes are probably like 3 inch, 4 inch. So, but if you, let's say you only can make 3 inch hole on 2x6, you have to make 4 inch hole, 4.5 inch hole. You can do that and put this through.
Yep.
Okay.
And just so that slides on. So say this was like a beam that slides on like this, and then you can drill the holes through like
So
that you need.
this is not for the joist, okay? This is only for the wall. So for the joist, you can't do that. Yeah. So this is the only. But see, there you go. You have a nice illustration.
Yeah.
So this thing, how we do it? You make a hole, and this thing actually flips down. So you can actually flip it down, and run this pipe through in the both side. See, this thing is like flexible. You open it outside up, so you can run the pipe. Because you have to remember, you won't be able to run through it's not practical all the time. So you have to put the pipes, try to slide in from inside into this area. So this thing, this on the both side, you can just flip it so that you have an open hole, put this pipe, then, and this lip, I don't know, you call it lip, put it back, and you screw it, so good to go. So this is for the one stud, you can do for double studs too. I thought I had it.
That's a really cool thing that they came up with. Like it just seems very logical. Because I've thought about that sometimes. I'm like, if I'm screwing into the wall, am I going to hit a pipe? Am I going to hit a wire? Am I going to hit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and as you proved earlier with your story, it's not that hard if you want to.
It's not. Especially when working sometimes, you just with this plate like 18 gauge or 16 gauge. Sometimes if your screws are sharp, you can actually drill through it. So you have to be careful. So now that's all for a regular joist, lumber, okay? 2x10, 2x6, 2x4, 8. But now floor joist, if you have a I-joist, right? These are engineered wood products, which is more stronger, can span longer than regular 2x10 or 2x12. So these are the specific I-joists you can use. If you use it, there are different products, so different manufacturers. So different manufacturers have different requirements, but very identical. So if I use TJI, go to their website, they have this nice illustrations of how big a hole you can make, all kind of things. See? So with this one, actually, you can make a much bigger holes than lumber. Okay, and there's a table here, and this will say D1 means how big a hole you can drill. You know, so this will actually tell you how big a hole you can drill. All this one again. You can always talk to your joist manufacturer, and they would be able to provide this joist guideline for free, or you can even go to the website. Any manufacturers nowadays, you can go to their website and download the literature, technical bulletin, and all this information is there. So joist, I can tell you, you can make much bigger holes, and because that's how they are constructing, that's how they are built. But the regular lumber, you have to be careful. You can't make a hole bigger. But yes, you can, but then you have to use some proprietary product like Simpson. For example, this is a Simpson book. What do you call it? This is a free guideline you can download. So you just say code compliant repair and protection guide Simpson. So you go down, yes, everything. You have like hundreds of different options. This guy's like want to make money, You can do whatever you do on the field, and they have a repair, they have a fix for it, It just, you have to pay money, but see, they have a different plate. See, you can do this. See, they have different ones, nicely illustrated.
Yeah.
So everything is there. So you do this, this guy, see, man, very detailed, very graphic. See, it will tell you, even they copied all this requirement from IRC. So you don't have to go. If you download this one, you would be able to find out the notches and the holes you can make on regular joist or joist,
Yeah.
Like this. See, they will tell you everything. See, they want to sell their product. They say, this is what you can use our product. It's easy to identify which product you can use for which application. See? When you go Home Depot buy, you just have to say SS 1.5. That's what you say, okay? And this is what you can go online. So, yeah, so even you can make a big HVAC repair, see?
There you go. That was going to be my next question about vents. I know vents usually are built to the size of the difference of the space in between two studs. But that's very interesting that they also have a product that helps with that too. So you don't drill through your HVAC vent by accident.
You can actually drill through as big as the stud. If it's 2x6, the wall width is 2 by 5.5. So you can have up to 5.5, but you put plate on both sides, you can put a plate so that the top plate is continuous. And on the back side or outside, you have a OSB sitting anyway. So, so you don't have to put that plate. You don't have to put a plate on the both side. Let me take it back. So you only put that plate inside. Outside, you already have a OSB seating nailed to the plate and the stud. So you're good to go.
Awesome.
So they have all this stuff. They have everything here. This is for electrical protection, everything. So I'm just like, I'm selling their product, but I have no means. I'm not, associated with them. They're not paying me anything, but I just want to share with what I use.
This is not an ad.
This is not an ad. Yes.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
I think I'm done. That's it. That's it.
All right. Well, and Raj, is there a way to share the link to that in the comment section? So if other people want to take a look at that. Awesome.
I will.
All right. Well, we will share that so that you guys can take a look. And if you have any questions, leave us a comment. And we will see you next week as we continue our structural series.
Okay. Sounds good, guys. Bye-bye. Bye, Danielle.
Thank you. Bye.